Well, happy Thursday, everybody. I hope your summer is going well. I'm here in the Northeast and it is hot, hot, hot. So, thank you, everybody, for showing up here on why now is the best time to look for a job in tech. And you may be thinking otherwise, but we'll talk a little bit about that. This cover picture here is a picture that I took of myself in 2017, my first week at Facebook when they flew me out to Menlo Park. They onboarded us. They treated us to really great beer and food. That's me with the Lagunitas. And on the floor in the sidewalk in Menlo Park, they have that engraved in the sidewalk. It's good to be here. So it was good for me to be there for a year and a half while I was there. So what we'll be covering today: one, why tech is the right place to be focused on. Secondly, why now is the right time. Third, giving you an understanding of tech recruiting and how it works so that you can be better equipped to succeed. Fourth, how you can accelerate your career. Fifth, I'll talk a little bit about Kadima and how we can help. And then my favorite part of these is opening up to Q&A, listening to your questions and seeing what's on your mind and how I can help. So why tech's the right place? You do not need to work in tech, but you should want to. And here are 5 reasons why. One, if you look at any of the top lists of companies to work for, these companies are usually the top of the list: Google and Meta and Salesforce and Microsoft. They're very well reviewed by companies. And the reason why they're reviewed well by employees, and the reason why they're reviewed highly by employees, is they treat employees really well. The benefits were pretty darn amazing while I was at those companies. They pay really well, and I'll show some data about that shortly. These companies are all talking a big game about how they want to hire more Black and Latinx and women and differently abled and underrepresented populations. They're talking a lot, and they're still hiring a lot. So I know there's some headlines we'll cover about those, but there's still lots of open roles at a lot of amazing companies. So a little bit about my time in tech. So I worked at Google, I worked at Facebook, I was at Salesforce, I was at Tableau. During that time, I got some pretty sweet opportunities to get a private concert with Bruno Mars, not just myself, me and 15,000 other Googlers in Las Vegas. Macklemore put on a great show for us at Facebook. When I was at Google, they brought in Cory Booker to speak. And I think it was at Salesforce, they brought Deepak Chopra in to speak. He's not that good of a speaker, by the way, but I think he was paid quite nicely for his speaking engagement. In the middle section are some real life things that I accomplished while I was at these companies. Top of the picture is me and my wife in the Dublin office at Facebook, before Facebook was called Meta. You see the slide there. That slide really exists in the San Bruno office in Google's YouTube headquarters. And I slid down that with my laptop under my arm. You see those crazy balls. I did not partake in that, but some of my teammates were in those balls. We played beer pong. And then the far right, just some of the over-the-top stuff that occurs here. When I was at Google, we rented out Disneyland for half a day. They closed down the park at, I believe, 6 or 7 p.m., and we had it till midnight. They shut out the whole public, and all Googlers were left, and they allowed us to have beer, cut the line to chew, what's it called? What's a big roller coaster there? I don't know, but we got to cut the line there. We got offsites in Napa Valley. The menu that you see there's crazy food that is offered to you, all for free, all part of your experience there. So I did feel like I was living the dream there. Not only those intangibles, but tangible, real dollar values. These tech companies pay well. So what you see in this first column is what my compensation was at American Express in 2011, doing essentially same functional sort of work as what I was doing at Google. I moved over to Google in 2011. Instantaneously, my compensation went up by $62,000, up by 37%. And then over the next decade, my comp proceeded to increase by 3.3 times. And I'm not BSing you. I have my W-2 up there. That was my last W-2 of working in the corporate world. I actually left Salesforce in September of that year. So that was only 3/4 of a year. It's not to brag, but it's to show you what the opportunities are at these tech organizations. And next, not only me, but what you're seeing here are the median pay for the top tech companies. What you're seeing on the left are median pay for traditional companies. And for those of you that didn't take stats 3 times like I did and forget what median is, it essentially means what the 50th percentile at the company get paid. So for Google, for instance, they have 160,000 employees. That 80,000th employee is getting paid $296,000. So that means 80 more thousand people are getting paid north of $296,000. So the comp is real at these companies. They pay well, they treat you well. And there's a reason why a lot of people are actively seeking roles at these organizations. I also talked about the diversity aspect. These companies talk a big game. If anybody types in their browser, equality.com, Salesforce spent a good chunk of change, I'm not sure how much, to buy that URL. And you see this glitzy image with this "We Are the World" type scene, which I only recognize one person that I work with in this picture here. Then if you dig into the numbers, they're not really walking the talk as much. Here are the real numbers from Salesforce. And it's not just Salesforce. I'm not here to criticize my former employer. It is a situation across the industry. So if you look here, here are diversity numbers at these organizations, some of the top tech companies in the world. If you look at the Black representation in the US, it's 13.4%. No company is above 5.7%. Latinx, the same disparity. 18.5% of the US population is Latinx. Only Microsoft, it's not even close. Microsoft is best at 7%. Female populations, which are underrepresented in tech, about 50% of the US population are women, and no company is above 37% representation by women. So they're talking a big game. There's a big gap there that they're looking to fix, but they're doing in my opinion, a substandard job at doing. So that's a little bit about why tech. Now, why is the right time? You're seeing lots of these headlines. I just grabbed these the last couple of days. There was a new headline today about Google pausing all hiring for 2 weeks as they evaluate things. A lot of these companies are pulling back a little bit with the economic situation, with the uncertainty, with the war in Ukraine, with a lot of the tumult going on. These are all headlines that I'm sure many of you are aware of. However, these sort of headlines sell newspapers, these get attraction, and this is occurring. There are definitely roles being retracted and offers rescinded. That has always occurred. It's picking up a little bit now. But on the flip side, there are lots of jobs available. Kadima tracks the top 100 companies that we recommend people to work at. And if you want to get that list, you can grab it at Kadima. You can look at the URL, or you can take a picture of that QR code. At these top 100 companies, they have over 500,000 open roles, a median of 1,100 roles per company. So some of them are crazy. Like Amazon has like 90,000 roles available. So I don't want to, 1,100 roles median. People that I'm working with are getting roles on a daily, weekly basis. These are real people that I'm working with that just got roles at Google, ADP, J&J, ForcePoint, Amazon. And another great reason why it's a good opportunity to be looking now is, I don't know if I'll go into tons of detail of compensation within companies, but RSUs, restricted stock units, or the equity, you are going to get equity at very low prices because the market has tanked, and that will pay off very nicely in the long term. So lots of reasons to be bullish now, despite some of those scary headlines. So the best time to look for a job, like the Chinese proverb says, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. If you haven't done it 20 years ago, the second best time is right now. And similarly, if you are looking for your next job, an effective job search takes time. It typically takes 3 to 6 months. So the best time for you to be looking for a job was 6 months ago, because you'd probably be in your new job by now. But since you can't go back in time, not too many people have that opportunity to do so outside of Michael J. Fox and Back to the Future. The next best time is now. And to level set, you're not going to get the job right away. Typically, it takes 3 to 6 months to do so. Let me just mute my phone because I keep getting pinged with Slack. And now, even though there is slower hiring velocity in the summer because people are on vacation and so forth, there's actually a good opportunity for you to build your network and have conversations with people, which I'll talk about later, why those are so critically important. That will be the key inputs that will land you more interviews and more offers. And yes, Marty McFly, good reference there. So now I'll talk a little bit about how the top tech companies recruit, and it's pretty similar across the gamut. I'll tell you why I know so much about this shortly. This is what happens. This is the job search funnel from that you should be cognizant of. When you submit a resume, you are submitting resumes with hundreds, if not thousands, of other people. So that's coming into an ATS, an application tracking software system. Basically, when you submit your application on LinkedIn or at salesforce.com/careers, it's going into that abyss. Then what a recruiter does is a recruiter takes those thousands of resumes, does a couple of search strings, narrows that down to several hundred, and then they will manually review and look at those resumes and make a quick decision within 6 to 60 seconds. Is this person potentially worthy of me giving a call to or scheduling a 30-minute chat with? That recruiter will speak with about 10 to 20 people. So when you get that call from the recruiter saying, hey, we just saw your resume that you submitted for Microsoft, we want to talk to you, you're all excited, but you should level set those expectations and understand that recruiter is also talking about 20 other people at that point. The recruiter will speak to you, and the recruiter, through those conversations, will decide to pass you or not pass you on to the hiring manager. The hiring manager will speak to about 5 to sometimes upward to 10 people to get to a mix of people that they want to bring on site. No one goes on site anymore, or virtual interview loops. And that's when you get down to about 3 to 5 other candidates that have a full slate of interviews, usually 4 interviews, 45 minutes apiece. And at that point, you're really excited. You got asked to be invited to an on-site interview with Amazon. Oh, they really like me. Yeah, they really like you, but they also like you and 4 other people. So it really depends on how you do versus those other people. Out of those interview loops, only 1 to 3 are usually deemed hireable, and then 1 offer will be extended for that open role. Sometimes they have a plan B if you don't take that role, but often there's 1 top choice. So that's how the job search funnel works. It looks intimidating, but I'll talk a little bit about how you can take advantage of that, and if you understand that properly, how you can navigate and have success through this whole abyss of a job search. This is showing you there's 3 primary ways that you can get an interview. 1, you can be recruited. You can be sitting on your computer and a recruiter can reach out to you on LinkedIn or send you an email. The way that is occurring at companies is they are looking for people with specific companies on their resume or their LinkedIn profile, with specific titles, with specific schools, and they're just doing a search on LinkedIn Recruiter, which is a very expensive aspect of LinkedIn software, which most people don't have access to, but recruiters do. And they can look at, when I was at Google, I would talk to the recruiter and they would ask me, what sort of candidate are you looking for? And the first question they would say is, what sort of companies are you looking to recruit people from? So I'd give them a list of Amazon and Microsoft and Salesforce and Facebook. So that's how you get actively recruited. That's how you get reactively recruited. When you're sitting there, when someone reaches out to you, they saw something there that they wanted to reach out to you to. There's not much you can do about that, except make sure that your LinkedIn profile is up to date and so forth. The second aspect is cold application. This is a proactive aspect. What's critical to stand out of those thousands of applicants is make sure you're applying at the right place, and those right places are the first-party job sites. Don't apply at LinkedIn, don't apply on Indeed, don't apply on Glassdoor, don't apply on monster.com. You go to shopify.com/jobs or spotify.com/careers. You apply at those right places, At the right time, you need to be getting your application in within 1 to 2 weeks. These companies are all very attractive. There's lots of candidates wanting to get in there. If you don't get in there quickly, the horse has left the stable and you'll be out of luck. And then you need to be applying for the right roles. You can't be applying for a role that you're pivoting. You need to leverage your strengths. And the third avenue, which has the least number of applicants that come in, but the highest success rate, are referrals. So if you develop those relationships and you can reestablish relationships with people that you have weak ties with, maybe people you haven't spoken to in years, you can develop new relationships and you have conversations and you earn referrals. And what I say by earn referrals, if you ask somebody, hey, would you mind referring me? Almost everybody is going to say yes. And most of them will not follow through on that. If you have a conversation and it goes well, you will find advocates or boosters that will say, hey, if you ever see a role that's interesting, let me know and I'll submit you in as a referral. That person is probably going to follow through on what they say they're going to do. So those are the three main areas to get into the company, to get considered. Now, I'm going to break down the 3 stages of interviews, and this occurs at almost every company, every big company, and almost every tech company. First, there's the recruiting screen. The recruiter calls you, they may have a video call with you. They're trying to assess 2 different things. These conversations are usually 30 minutes in length. They're trying to see if A, you are a good fit for that role from an experience perspective and you match up against those job requirements. And B, they may suss out if there are any blockers like location or compensation. And we'll talk a little bit later how you should not talk about compensation early on. You should deflect that back. Most people that work with me get past the recruiter screen about 80% likelihood. Then after the 30-minute recruiter screen, and they're typically 30 minutes, if you're lucky, you go to the hiring manager screen. What the hiring manager is trying to assess are 2 primary attributes. One, they're going to dig deeper on that subject matter expertise. So do you have a track record and experience in doing what they need you to do? And secondly, will they want to manage you? You will be reporting to this hiring manager. So you need to have some sort of rapport, or that manager needs to be comfortable that they would be happy or excited to manage you. Third is if you get past the hiring manager, you will get to the loops, or also known as on-site, sometimes panel interviews. These are a series typically of 4, sometimes 5 interviews, usually 45 minutes in length. You will usually meet with the hiring manager again, where they will assess and dive into your different attributes. And most of these questions are behavioral-based questions. So tell me about a time when you had to launch a product in a tight timeline, or tell me when you had to convince a difficult stakeholder to do something they didn't want to do. It's usually a tell me about yourself type question. Tell me about a situation. And sometimes they will have some light case questions, but mostly it's behavioral based questioning. So those are the 3 stages of interviews. If you break each of those stages down further, there are 4 phases within each of those stages. First off, every conversation starts with building rapport. The first 5 minutes of a conversation, you want to influence this person to be positively inclined to you, to give you a thumbs up on moving to the next stage or getting an offer. You got to build rapport. You need to be likable. So whether you're talking about the weather, whether you research them a little bit online and talk about something, you need to develop some rapport. That usually takes 3 to 5 minutes. The next part is TMAY, or tell me about yourself, or the narrative. Almost every interview, they will ask you, tell me about yourself, or walk me through your resume, or what brought you here today. And you need to have that down into like a 2 to 4 minute story of clearly articulating of who you are, what you did, especially the relevancy to that role, why you're interested in that role, and what excites you about this company. I usually like to weave in a personal anecdote also, again, to go back to that likability aspect. But you need to prepare for that. That is fairly repetitive, of course, multiple interviews. Third, you will get questions fired at you. A lot of these questions are predictable. Most of them are behavioral based. Most of them will come from the job description. You can anticipate what sort of questions, and you can prepare for those questions by developing your situation, tasks, action, and result, or star stories for a number of different scenarios that you can use at your disposal. Fourth is questions from you. Almost every question wraps up at the end of, hey, thanks for meeting with us. What questions do you have for us? What questions do you have for me? And you want to come there with some intelligent questions. You want to be prepared with at least 3 questions. You may not always ask that same set of 3 questions, and they could be different questions for different interviewers, but you want to at least have 3 so that you're not hemming and hawing when they say, what questions you have for me? You could talk off the top of your head also based on how the interview came, but you want to be prepared with at least 3 questions. So that helps you to get into the mindset of the interviewer. And if you think about this, the interviewer is a decision maker. They are making a decision of, hey, are we going to say yes to Connie or no to Connie? Are we going to move Janet forward or are we going to reject her right now? So you need to influence that judge of your capability. And this is how you think about it. And this, if you think about it like this, there are ways to effectively prepare for success. Next up, the proven way to accelerate your career. So let me tell you a little bit about myself and how I came up with this. My background, I happen to be a top 1% interviewer. Over the course of my career, I have looked at over 10,000 resumes. I've interviewed thousands of people. I've hired hundreds of people at some top tech companies. I know how it is on the inside. I've been a hiring manager, not a recruiter, but I am the ultimate decision. As a hiring manager, you are the ultimate decision maker of who comes on board and who doesn't. So I've been in that spot multiple different times at multiple different companies. Secondly, I've personally interviewed at about 1,000 companies, and I've received dozens of offers. I've worked at 21 companies. I've held 29 jobs. I've also got rejected a shit ton amount. I think about 950 times. I don't have that. That's just back of the envelope math. But I don't think 950 rejections means I'm a bad candidate. It means that I've been taking lots of swings at the plate and I've gotten 50 offers. Also, education and privilege. I don't want to discount this. I've been fortunate enough to be a white male born in the United States, which has afforded me some privilege. I've been able to afford my MBA at a top business school. I got in based on my scores, but I was able to afford it based on money I was able to save up. I also have the privilege of getting into a PhD program in psychology. I wound up dropping out of that, but I have that training that helps me to help you. Then finally, this part I find the most interesting, the real life research. So before I launched Kadima, I was actually contemplating going back to another big tech company when I left Salesforce. So I thought I was going to go from Salesforce to either Stripe or Amazon or Microsoft or another company like that. I was doing lots of interviewing, prepping myself. During that period of time, I submitted 300 applications, and I track this because I work with my clients on this. 300 applications, interviewed 117 times. I got 47 different interviews, 47 different roles I was interviewing for. I got 5 offers, but that means out of the 300, I got rejected 295 times. So I have the real life insight here. And actually, just coincidentally enough, Amazon just reached out to me. They're interviewing me for a role. I'm not actively interested in that role, although maybe if they offer me tons of money, I'll think about it. But so I'm doing that actually just to keep my skills fresh. So with all that information, all that insight, all my experience, I look back on my career and I was like, how, because a lot of people used to come to me before I started Kadima and they still come to me of like, how do you do this? How can you help me? And what essentially I've figured out and put down on paper is this 6-step growth framework that has worked for me, has worked for my clients, and will work for you. So it's a very nice sounding acronym. The G is goals. The first step, clearly define your goals. Think about what your values are, create your target list of companies. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, I think, in a future slide here. Secondly, realistically assess and market your strength. So if you are in sales and you want to go into product management, they're not going to hire you as a product manager. Leverage your strengths and yeah, like you got to realistically assess what your strengths are and what the person that's hiring you about, what's in their mind and what they're looking for. You can always pivot once inside, or you can pivot at your current company. It's very hard to move and to switch functions. Third, this one is the most critical, most important, is outreach. Build relationships authentically and effectively at those target companies where you want to work. And there's ways to do that. Fourth is work the system. And what I mean by work the system is apply at the right places, at the right time for the right roles, get those applications in there, leverage your referrals where you can. But if you do not have a referral, get your applications in there quickly. Fifth, training and tenacity for the interviews. So as I explained a little bit before, the interviews are very predictable, very repetitive. You can train for those, but you also need to develop some tenacity, because I can guarantee you, well, I can't guarantee you, maybe you will be much more talented than me and get every role afforded that you go up for, but you will likely get rejected multiple times from multiple companies. You will get ghosted. You will get rejected with canned responses. You need to build tenacity up and perseverance, because that's just the way the system works. If you remember that funnel from before. And six, most importantly, from a compensation perspective, is once you get that offer, that is the optimal time for high impact negotiation. The best time for you to take a step up in compensation in your salary and your bonus and the W-2, the money you bring home, is after you get that offer. And to negotiate effectively is key. I have done it poorly early in my career. I've done it better later in my career. And it's been the difference of getting $0 more and getting $134,000 more. So with all that, your career will lift off with that very cool motion animation. So I broke that down, and I know it's not as easy as that. The job search ain't easy. It sometimes feels like a black hole. Your resume enters this mysterious black hole. When I submitted 300 resumes, I think I probably only heard back from 50, probably from 100 of them. Secondly, you don't know how the game is played. I revealed a little bit about how the game is played here, but the game has all these new, I call it a game. It is essentially a game. You're trying to win a job. Third, you didn't go to the right school. That is a burden, but it does not prevent you from getting a great job. My undergrad university was a small state school in New York. I didn't have the same advantage with having my name brand of my business school, but if you don't have the right school, you can still navigate it. It's just a little bit harder. You've been rejected from countless interviews. Don't let that detract you. Do not. Everyone's gotten rejected from countless interviews. Mine have been counted. I think mine's been about 950. And then you don't know how much you're worth. This is a question I get from people all the time. They're like, I don't even know how much I should be seeking. That's okay. You still should be going for the job, and you can get clarity on that in a number of different ways that I can explain later. So now that you know how the job search is, I'll talk a little bit about how Kadima helps people. So a little history about Kadima is I developed this as a mission-based organization. I first tried to go into recruiting several times within Google, within Salesforce, within Facebook, and got denied because I did not have that experience, or for whatever reason. So I found this on my own. Kadima, which is a Hebrew word, it means acceleration, and I'm on a mission to accelerate 1 million careers. So we have a ways to go there. We're focused specifically on underrepresented, underestimated, underpaid talent, but I do help everybody. But I do see the largest discrepancy in knowledge, insight, and access with these groups. So I focus outreach on these groups as much as possible. Third, to date, we've helped dozens of people earn millions of dollars more. We're at $3.1 million more that we've been able to earn for people on an annualized basis. So people's salary go up on average, not salary, total compensation, because tech compensation is usually made up of salary, bonus, and RSUs or equity. Annual comp for clients of ours are going up $98,000 a year. That the way we do this, the way we help people get out of that black hole and see the light at the end of the tunnel, is we provide you with methods to earn valuable referrals. So you need to earn those, and people get intimidated with that, but we show you how to do that. We give you the right guidance on where, when, and how to apply for roles. And we get rid of all the bullshit of cover letters, certification, going back to school, and things that just don't work. In some cases, I will tell people that some of that stuff works. Very rarely, people spend too much time, too much money on those activities. So not only has this worked for me, I showed you some of the numbers. Here are real testimonials from real people that we've helped get into Amazon, that we helped get into Apple, that we helped get into Meta, that we helped get into Google. So you can read this, you can read some more stories on our website. What Kadima offers, so how we help. We have 3 different services. We offer one-on-one coaching. So this is for people that want personalized coaching with unlimited access to me. The second offering we have is an online self-paced course. People like to do it on their own, at their own pace. We offer that as well. And then some people just come to me when they have an offer in tow. They're like, Alan, can you help me get more money? Yes, we can help you get more money. And we've helped people get a lot more money from that. So that's what Kadima offers. If you're still figuring out what your career goals are and how to get there, we just launched this new offering, a career clarity consultation. So if you want more clarity with your career, more direction with your career, we're offering this to you now. It's a very easy process. Step 1, you book time with me via career clarity consultation, and I'll tell you about that on the next slide. I will send you a list of questions so that I can ascertain and understand where your challenges have been in the job search. We'll explore what you want and the way to get there. And I will offer you personal advice and action steps with at least 3 action steps that you can take right away. And as a special offer, we just launched this service. I normally charge $250 for this, well, for my time. We're just launching this, but we're selling this only for $99. I'm not really selling it. It's an investment. My intent is with your investment, you will get a solid return. If you're interested in this, you can go to kadimacareers.com/clarity, and you will leave that meeting with 3 actionable tips, or I'll give you your money back. And then after talking to me, if you decide to move forward with any of our services, we will also give your money back. So the intent here is not to make money on this. It's really just to make sure that you are serious, you're motivated to accelerate your career. And I just want to make sure that you're committed to your career acceleration. If you want to talk more about your career, go to kadimacareers.com/clarity. If you don't want to invest the $99 now, totally okay. Follow me on LinkedIn. I talk a lot. I give a lot of free insights there. You can listen to our podcast, the SICK podcast, which stands for Steer Your Career with Kadima. It's a great podcast with lots of individuals that have gone up and down throughout their tech career. Check that out. And yeah, feel free to stay in touch. I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.